Hello, this is Mr. Muller for lesson 12-6, dividing polynomials. Alright, so there's going to be a couple different ways to do this problem. You could do it however way you think best. I'm going to explain kind of both ways to do it, and don't settle for those first three problems I'm going to do. Are going to be a lot of in your head work, but then once you get to that fourth one, there's really no way to do it in your head, and there's really only one way to do it, and it's going to be completely different than the first three. So make sure this is one of those lessons where you understand how to do all of the problems. So if I have a problem like this, so 15c cubed plus 3c squared is divided by 3c. So there's two different ways to do this. So I can divide it just like how it says. So I'll have my 3c divided by 15c cubed. Which then, if I'm dividing, I'm just going to literally divide my numbers and subtract my exponents. So if I have 15 divided by 3, I'm going to end up with 5. And if I have c to the third divided by c squared, I end up with c to the third divided by c, I'm going to end up with c squared. Then if I divide this other side, so 3c squared divided by 3c, I just end up with a c. Okay, so remember, if I'm dividing polynomials, so this is my division problem, I can think what 3c times what gives me 15. So 3 times 5 is going to give me 15. C to c cubed needs to be a c squared. Okay, and then I have plus. So 3 to 3 is just a 1, and then a c to c squared is going to give me a c. So now if I multiply all these, because remember, multiplication and division are really opposites, it gives me that. Or if I think about it like this, how I was saying earlier, which I probably should have written down instead of just saying it, because now we're probably all really confused. If I divide these two, remember when we divide polynomials, 15 divided by 3, 5, c to the cubed, the c cubed minus c, c squared. Same thing with the other side. So 3c squared over 3c. 3 divided by 3 is 1. C squared minus c is 1c. So that's one way to do it. No matter what, you'll get 5c squared plus c. Problems like this, again, two ways to do it. So I could just set up my parentheses and see, hey, what d minus 11 is what set of parentheses, and I need to figure out my other set of parentheses, and I know my final answer is d squared minus 4d minus 77. Some of you might be able to think, well, it has to be d plus 7 then. And that ends up being your answer, because these two multiplied by each other will give you that answer. The other way to do it is to set it up like a division problem. It's easier if so d to the 11 divided by, let's do this. And then I have d squared minus 4d minus 77. And this is the way the book is going to teach it, which is completely fine, but for me, I like it better kind of this way, where I'm thinking like a multiplication problem instead of a division problem. Okay, so here's my division problem right here. Let's bring this down so we have some room. I'm going to think from d to d squared, I need to multiply this whole thing by d. So if this whole thing gets multiplied by d, I have d squared minus 11d. And then I have to subtract, because this is what happens when I do division. So 4d minus minus 11d, gives me 7d minus 77. And now from d minus 11 to 7d, I need to times by 7. So then I end up with 7d, and then 11 times 7 is 77. And then they end up crossing out. So I'm done. So there's no remainder in a problem like this. Next one we're going to do, there's going to be a remainder, and we'll talk about that in a second. So there's my d plus 7 as my answer. Okay, so this problem you pretty much have to do like how I just set up that problem. There's no other way that I can think of. If someone else can think of a way that's different or do it like that, great. But the book explains it like this, and I haven't found another way to really think about it. So in here I have t squared plus t minus 6. And remember, all those other ways you could do like this, but I think it's a little more complicated like this. So I'm looking at t to t squared. Well, to go from t to t squared, I need to multiply by t. So if I multiply all this by t, I end up with t times t is t squared. And I have a negative 1 times t is a negative 1t. And then just like dividing, I need to subtract here. So I have t minus minus 1t, which is going to give me 2t minus 6. So again, from t to get to 2t, that means I need to multiply by 2. I multiply this by 2. 2 times 2t is 2t. Negative 1 times 2 is a negative 2. Again, I subtract. 2t minus 2t is nothing. Negative 6 minus negative 2 is a negative 4. So that's kind of my remainder. So I end up with t plus 2 and then, oops, t plus 2, not t plus 4. T plus 2 minus 4. And then what I really would be doing is dividing t minus 1, but that's never going to happen because I can't divide 4 by t because I don't know what t is. So this is going to end up being my final answer. So you're going to do it as you're going to divide as much as you can, and then whatever your remainder is, which happens to be a negative 4 here, over what you're dividing. There it is, written differently.